fish are going to go in the cooler and I'm going to take water samples at set intervals to look at what these stressed bonefish are excreting. Based on some of our observations from previous work, we're watching what lemon sharks do when they're homing in on bonefish. It looks very much like they're following a scent trail. And what we're doing for this project is a combined field and lab study where we're trying to isolate what the chemicals are. And this component, what we're doing is taking bonefish that have been angled, and I've been keeping track about how long this fish has been on the line, and at regular intervals taking water samples out of the cooler, and at a later date those water samples will be analyzed for ammonia, cortisol, things that the lemon sharks are probably queuing in on.
Here you go, Doc.
Thank you.
Swims him right up to him.
And then he sits in there and relaxes. And what we've seen with some of our physiology studies so far is that things like lactic acid don't necessarily peak until about an hour after being stressed. But we know from our catch and release studies that bonefish are most susceptible to predation within the first 20 minutes. So what we do is take water samples pretty frequently between the time we put them in the cooler and half an hour, because then that's a pretty good indicator.
Bobber in the fish. Some dorsal.
That hook is not stainless, so even if it stays in, it rusts out in a very short
It'll rust
period
out in a couple of weeks.
Essentially, this is basically a computer that has memory, a battery, and a transducer up at the top. And batteries in these last about 15 months. And this device is sitting out here, listening for tagged individuals 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The transmitters that we put into bonefish and lemon sharks and barracuda, what they do is they send a code that helps to identify the specific number of that fish or that individual tag. And so this picks up the tag number and it's synchronized to a computer for date and time. So whenever fish gets in with the range of detection for this transducer, this picks it up and stores that information of date and time and the fish number. It's allowing us to answer some pretty interesting questions, not only about bonefish, but the other species that are here, and then looking at the interactions between bonefish and barracudas and sharks. During the spawning season for bonefish, not only do we rely on the remote receivers that are fixed to concrete blocks on the bottom, so very fixed positions. We also use this manual hydrophone to go out and listen for fish that we've got with transmitters in various locations. So this is a very simple device, the same sort of technology that's in the automatic remote hydrophones. We've got a lot of data. The data that I've analyzed so far is definitely showing them coming offshore, and apart from anywhere else in the world right now, we're the closest here about really isolating, figuring out when bonefish in the western Atlantic, Bahamian archipelago spawn. And I think tying that into their overall movement patterns, and then also their specific behaviors. That's going to tell us a lot about their ecology, and really also a lot about how we can protect them better. There might be certain times during the spawning season where we don't want to angle them because, again, with fish, the larger the fish, the more eggs they're carrying as females. And, people are always going out for those big trophy bonefish and, trying to lead on the big doubles and singles. We don't know what the impacts of angling that big ripe female is right before she's ready to spawn.
You saw how he went over, he lost equilibrium.
Yeah.
That makes him 6 times more likely to be preyed upon than than a fish that doesn't lose equilibrium?
The shortest distance between, the research and conservation in these best handling practices is by getting the anglers involved in the research. If you don't have the anglers involved, then the story has to be conveyed a number of additional times before it gets to the anglers. Get the message to the anglers, shorten the distance, and by doing that, by getting anglers involved, and by having scientists like myself and my colleagues, scientists that work for BTU, get out and convey the message to anglers clubs, put the messages out in popular magazines, and not to be afraid to say, 40%, depending on the environment, 40% of bonefish you release die because they're getting eaten by sharks or barracuda. That's a proven fact. We've shown that in a number of different locations. Now let's work on techniques that can help to reduce that.
Core Angling provides a unique research-based fishing experience where guests actively participate in cutting-edge flats species studies. Not only do they become better anglers in every sense, they also help close the loop between fishing, research, and conservation, taking part in a paradigm shift towards stakeholder involvement in the resource. Core Angling, the evolution of angling adventure.